Hey quilters, this is Libby Lehman. Today I want to show you how to make a sleeve. Not this kind of sleeve, but a sleeve for hanging your quilts. I'm going to use this small quilt I made as an example. The first thing you want to do is pick out a fabric for your sleeve. I usually match either the back or the binding, and I want to cut a piece of fabric that is the width of my quilt and 9 inches long. Why 9 inches? Because most shows want a 4-inch sleeve, and this will accommodate any type of hanging rod. My next step then is to fold in both ends towards the wrong side. I fold it once, about 1/4 of an inch, fold it over again another 1/4 of an inch, and press this. Then I'm going to stitch right along that folded edge. I'll show you why. If you stitch down the middle of that folded edge, you will have a lip that will catch on a pole or a rod. But if you'll stitch right along that folded edge, this eliminates that problem. Seems like a small detail, but it really makes a big difference. Now if I'm making this quilt for myself or for a gift possibly, I will simply fold the quilt, I will fold the sleeve in half, put it right along the top of the quilt, and stitch it in when I stitch down my binding. However, my quilts get a lot of wear and tear on the sleeve because they're on exhibit. The quilt behind me, Mornington, was on a 3-year exhibition tour, got taken off of a pole a lot of times, and if the sleeve has to be repaired, I really don't want to have to undo the binding of my quilt to repair that. So here's the difference between a normal sleeve and a competition or exhibition sleeve. Once I've stitched those edges down, I'm going to fold the sleeve in half, press it to find the middle, and you can finger press that if you want to. I fold both ends into the middle, but now you really want to press these. Get to your iron and really press these down. These are going to be your stitching guidelines, so you want to really be able to see those. Now, here's the difference between this and a normal sleeve. I'm going to open this up, I'm going to put wrong sides together, and I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam all the way down the sleeve. I usually back stitch at the beginning and the end, so I don't have little thread tails sticking out. This gives me then a 1/2 inch shorter side on the back and a little bit of ease on the front. This front then will be a 1/2 inch bigger. I like to use either a double-sided sticky tape, and I use Wonder Tape because it washes out and also doesn't gum up my needle. You could also use a 1/4 inch fusible web for this. It just acts like a basting. I'm going to line up that folded edge and place it right along the edge of my binding. Don't want to line it up at the top of the quilt, but put it right next to the edge of the binding. This will be, in my case, about a 1/4 of an inch down. That allows for the ease. If they have a skinny pole, your sleeve won't be hanging over the top of the quilt. Once I've got that in place, and here's another tip, make sure before you sew this down that you have your sleeve at the top of the quilt. Guess how I know that? My final step is to hand stitch along all 4 sides, making sure I don't stitch down the opening. So I'm going to hand stitch along the top, along the side, the bottom, and the other side. I will usually take a few reinforcing stitches at each of the corners just to help make the sleeve a little sturdier. Now let me show you a sleeve on a finished quilt here. This is a quilt I made several years ago called Fanfare. And at the top of the quilt I have a sleeve. You can see that it's a 1/2 inch bigger on the back here. It is hand sewn all 4 sides, and this works beautifully. I hope that helps. See you next time.